Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Hey everyone, welcome into a new week of The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I am your host, Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on our YouTube page. You know what you need to do first. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you are not a subscriber already. If you are a subscriber, hit that notification bell, be notified when we drop content on our YouTube page. I am here each week to break down the latest in Crimson Tide football recruiting news. You guys can call in and be a part of the show by leaving your recruiting question via voicemail on our voicemail line at 205-984-3222. The number will be located on the screen throughout the duration of today's show. On today's episode, like last week on Tuesday, I provided a breakdown of why I feel the Crimson Tide could have a huge summer on the recruiting trail. It looks as if that is coming to fruition based on the things that have happened over the last couple of days. And I'm talking about a couple of top recruits, top targets for the Tide in the 2023 recruiting class have locked in official visits to the University of Alabama for the month of June. I will talk about those guys on this episode of The Process. I will also provide a couple of updates about some key in-state targets for the Crimson Tide in this 2023 recruiting cycle as well. So thank you guys once again for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. We're going to start today's show by talking about the Crimson Tide's coaching staff continuing to be on the road and extending new offers. One of those offers went out to 2024 four-star defensive back Coryon Gibson out of Lancaster High School in Texas. He picked up an offer from the Crimson Tide's wide receiver coach Holman Wiggins. A lot of guys have been getting offers from Wiggins over the last couple of days. The Crimson Tide's wide receiver coach hitting the road in a lot of different states, getting out to see a lot of different guys. And like I said, Coryon Gibson was one of those prospects who recently picked up an offer from the Crimson Tide. And his recruitment is continuing to grow at a very fast pace at the moment. Just taking a look at some of the schools that have offered him over the last couple of days, including the Tide, including LSU, including Florida State, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. And all of those offers came over the span of 3 days. So this is a prospect who's seeing his recruitment continue to thrive. He's seeing his stock continue to go up as he had a pretty successful sophomore season at Lancaster High School. He feels that Alabama does a great job at developing defensive backs. He pointed out Trayvon Diggs and Patrick Surtain as former Alabama defensive backs who are making impacts in an earlier stage of their career in the NFL. Also talked about Nick Saban, said he feels that he has heard a lot of great things about Saban. He's really interested in meeting him in the future. Of course, he has not visited Alabama since picking up an offer from the Tide recently, so he is excited to get to Tuscaloosa. As far as his skill set is concerned, he's one of those lengthy defensive backs who has a lot of speed. I know speed is becoming a huge part of the college football game, the NFL game, just football in general. Everybody wants those prospects with speed, which is something that is raw and you can't teach speed. So Coryon Gibson is one of those guys who has speed, has a PR of 10.7 in the 100-meter dash. So you see another lengthy defensive back who can get it done after he picks off the football, picks up a fumble. He can do some damage with the football in his hands. He's considered one of the top safety prospects in the 2024 recruiting class. So the Crimson Tide are continuing to get out there, continuing to extend new offers to 2024 prospects and 2023 recruits. They are not done evaluating and extending new offers to 2023 guys either. A 2023 recruit recently picked up an offer from the Crimson Tide, Sumitra Bridgeman out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His offer actually came from the Crimson Tide's offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien. O'Brien was in Pennsylvania checking out some of the top recruits in that state, and he rolled up on Bridgeman. Actually told Bridgman's coach about his offer, and his coach informed Bridgeman about the offer from the Crimson Tide. Taking a look at Bridgman's offer list, with him being a 2023 recruit and a pretty well-known one, he actually has 30-plus offers at the moment, even has a top school list, which includes Georgia, Jackson State, and a couple of other programs. So his recruitment is further along than a lot of guys who get Alabama offers, but the Crimson Tide will try to find their way through his recruitment hopefully rise in this recruitment. And I think he's one of those guys they're going to want to get on campus this summer, possibly for camp, to evaluate him in person, because we all know nothing beats an in-person evaluation. In terms of his film, the Crimson Tide really like his versatility. As a junior, he was able to play as an inside linebacker, standing up as a traditional inside guy. He was actually able to play on the edge as well and play tight end on the offensive side of the football, showing off that versatility and athleticism that he brings to the football game. Said he felt blessed to get that offer from the Tide. He also said that it was an honor to be recognized as one of the top guys on their radar. Like I said, we'll see how his recruitment shakes out with the Crimson Tide, offering him, with them already having 30+ offers in a top school list. It will be interesting to see if the Tide can get him on campus this summer for an unofficial, official, or possibly a camp visit. That is something to pay attention to when it comes to Sumitra Bridgeman, a 4-star linebacker out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who the Crimson Tide offered recently. The Tide are still recruiting some of the top linebackers in this 2023 recruiting class, including Malik Bryant, a 4-star linebacker out of Orlando, Florida. He played his last couple of seasons at IMG Academy before transferring to Jones High School, where he will play his senior season at. He released his top 5 recently and included the Crimson Tide along with USC, Florida, UCF, and Miami. So we see a list of 3 Florida schools along with a school on the West Coast and USC. You also have Alabama, which is the only school not in the state of Florida, not in the state of California, who was included in Malik Bryant's top 5. He will announce his commitment on July 23rd. He recently visited Alabama for the first time during the month of April, so I think this is good that the Crimson Tide are in his top 5 at the moment. I think they are in a great position with Malik Bryant. As far as what he brings to the table, he's more of a hybrid linebacker. I compare him to Jeremiah Alexander in terms of his skill set, in terms of what he can bring to the table. But I think Alexander may be a bit of a better edge rusher, especially coming out of high school, than Malik Bryant is. But I think Bryant is a better pass coverage guy than Alexander was and when he was in high school. So Malik Bryant could have an opportunity to be an inside linebacker for the Crimson Tide, or he could be an edge guy. All depends on how they want to use him at the next level. I can easily see him playing standing up as a traditional inside linebacker, and that is just based on his movement in space. I think he moves really well in space. He also moves really well in pass coverage as well. So the Tide are included in his top 5 ahead of a commitment date on July 23rd. It will be huge for the Crimson Tide to get him back on campus. They are hoping to get Peyton Kirkland back on campus before he announces commitment alongside Malik Bryant on July 23rd. It wouldn't surprise me if both of those guys got on campus at the same time during the summer for an unofficial or official visit to the Crimson Tide in the summer during the month of June. Possibly that is something to pay attention to when it comes to Malik Bryant's recruitment, along with Peyton Kirkland's recruitment, who's a 4-star offensive lineman who's considering the Crimson Tide. I talked about him on the last show, basically flashing towards the future as they got to look out for in terms of Alabama having a big summer. I did not include Malik Bryant in that episode, but he definitely should have been in there with him set to announce a commitment on July 23rd. He's a guy to watch out for this summer as well. So that is something to pay attention to when it comes to Malik Bryant's recruitment. I am constantly getting out on the road at the moment, trying to see as many Alabama targets in person during their spring practices as possible. I got out to see 5-star defensive end Peter Woods and 5-star defensive back Tony Mitchell at Thompson High School recently. I provided that update on our YouTube page. Be sure to check out that video when you get an opportunity. Basically, when you wrap up this one, there will be a good time to check out our update on Peter Woods and also Tony Mitchell. I got an opportunity to travel to Montgomery, Alabama on Monday to check in on 2 other top in-state targets for the Crimson Tide in this 2023 recruiting class, and 5-star defensive tackle James Smith and also 4-star linebacker Corey Russo. Starting with James Smith, like I said, he is a 5-star defensive tackle, currently standing at 6'4", weighing more than 300 pounds. He's really impressive at that practice, although they were in helmets, jerseys, and shorts. You could not tell that by looking at James Smith. Just take a look at some of this footage. He's basically bullying his teammates, and that is something that he does not only do at practice. He does that in the game. He's that dominant in the game. I had an opportunity to see him play a couple of times over the last couple of seasons, including at Carver Montgomery during his sophomore season before he transferred to IMG Academy as a junior, where he helped their centers have a dominant defense as well. So I think he's going to be one of the Crimson Tide's top targets throughout this 2023 recruiting cycle. Like the update I provided on Smith a couple of weeks ago, he is still taking his recruitment very slowly. He wants to drop a top 12 or top 13 this week. He said he wants to take a couple of official visits during the summer. It wouldn't surprise me if he did not take an official visit to Alabama during the summer, because he is an in-state kid, has visited Alabama a lot of times. He is a national recruit, so it would benefit him. It probably would benefit him more to go out to some schools he hasn't had an opportunity to visit to as much. So that is something to pay attention to when it comes to Smith's recruitment, along with his teammate Russo, who will be his teammate again during his senior season, with Smith transferring from IMG Academy back to Carver High School. Russo is considered one of the top linebacker prospects in the 2023 recruiting class. Has a crazy offer list. He's a national recruit like Smith. They take visits together. I'm pretty sure they're going to take all of their official visits together as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if Alabama does not get an official visit from Russo either this summer. But it could happen, but it wouldn't surprise me because they are in-state guys. And if I was a recruit growing up in the state of Alabama, I would take every advantage of the recruiting process and try to get out to as many places outside of the state, or just colleges in more desirable locations, to just get a feel of those programs, especially with official visits being paid for. So that is something to pay attention to in both of those guys' recruitment. But talking to Russo on Monday, I had an opportunity to get a feel of what he wants to do with this recruitment. Said he wants to take a couple of official visits during the summer, a couple of more during the season. That is where I feel Alabama will most likely get an official visit from Russo. And Smith will most likely happen during the football season when it comes to both of those guys. He also recapped his visit to Alabama on A-Day. Both guys were on campus. Smith described it as a great atmosphere. Had an opportunity to catch up with Saban. He said he feels Saban is a nice and cool, just laid back guy. He doesn't talk too much, but he doesn't talk too less. That is exactly what James Smith told me. You guys can check out my interview with Smith over at touchdownalabama.com. Russo said it was great to see Alabama's defense. Said he really liked the way that Will Anderson and Dallas Turner played coming off the edge. He said he can see himself fitting in that role, but he could also see himself playing inside linebacker for the Crimson Tide just based on his height. He feels that he could be an inside linebacker, and he's continuing to grow as far as being a better linebacker in coverage, because he knows that it's something that he's going to have to do if he plays inside linebacker at the next level. But that is the update I wanted to provide on both of those in-state prospects. Like I said at the top of the show, I feel the Crimson Tide could have a big summer on the recruiting trail, and things are shaping up really well for the Tide at the moment, with a lot of their top targets locking in official visits. You have guys like Olas Elanine, who has locked in an official visit to the Crimson Tide. He's a 4-star offensive lineman out of Connecticut, who's one of the Crimson Tide's top offensive lineman targets. You also have 5-star wide receiver Brandon Ennis has already locked in an official visit to Alabama. Another top offensive lineman target who the Crimson Tide are recruiting heavily in this 2023 recruiting class is Will Conformity out of Northridge High School in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He recently has locked in an official visit to the Crimson Tide. He will be on the campus of the University of Alabama on the weekend of June 10th through 12th. He's currently stands at 6'8", 300-pound offensive lineman, projected to be an offensive tackle at the next level. Has been to Tuscaloosa several times over the last couple of weeks, so it is a bit surprising that he is taking an official visit to Alabama, but he said that it's something that he's wanting to do. He wants to continue building his relationship with the Crimson Tide's coaching staff, including Crimson Tide's offensive line coach Eric Wolford. So Bill O'Brien within the entire Alabama coaching staff have an opportunity to recruit Will Conformity when he gets on campus in June. Formby is one of those guys who could really help the Crimson Tide have a big summer on the trail, with him wanting to announce a commitment before his senior season. He's getting a lot of official visits out the way already. He already has one behind him. He officially visited Ole Miss recently. Another top prospect who has locked in an official visit to Alabama is 5-star defensive back Caleb Downs out of Georgia. He will be on the campus of the University of Alabama on the weekend of June 17th through 19th. Like I said, he's a 5-star defensive back out of Mills Creek High School in Georgia. He's considered one of the top safety prospects in the 2023 recruiting cycle, currently standing at 5'11", weighing close to 200 pounds. He is developed really nicely in terms of his muscle tone. Had opportunity to see him actually in action at the Under Armour Next camp like a couple of months ago, and he looks the part, although he was not able to go through the full camp because he was basically juggling basketball and going to that camp. So I think he just finished the game the night before, so he did not go through the entire camp session one-on-ones, but he did go through drills at that camp, and he looked really smooth during those drills. You could tell that he's smooth in pass coverage, a very physical player, guy who helps in run support really well, can be a weapon in the punt return game, dangerous when he catches interceptions, can turn those into pick sixes just based on his speed and the physicality that he runs the football with as well. So the Crimson Tide will be lucky to get a commitment from him. He looked to be heavily in the mix. He does have an official visit scheduled to Georgia as well. He would actually officially visit Georgia before he visits Alabama on the weekend of June 17th through 19th. He will be joined by a fellow Georgia recruit on his official visit on that weekend, as 4-star running back Justice Haynes will also be on the campus of the University of Alabama for an official visit. He actually has 4 official visits scheduled at the moment. Like I said, he will be in Tuscaloosa on the weekend of June 17th through 19th. Will be in Georgia on the weekend of June 3rd through the 5th, which is the same weekend that Caleb Downs will be in Georgia as well. He will visit USC on June 10th through 12th. He will also visit Ohio State on June 24th through June 24th through the 26th. Based on those visits, basically knocking out 4 official visits during the month of June. It wouldn't surprise me if he announced a commitment before his senior season as well, and the Crimson Tide looks as if they're going to get a shot at landing him this summer. You know, he is an in-state recruit for the Georgia Bulldogs, so they're going to try to pull him in. Ohio State, with them being one of the college football blue bloods, you know that they're going to throw their best shot as well. And USC has a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail. People are excited about the future under Lincoln Riley in California, so you know they are going to try their best to get Justice Haynes on campus, along with those great NIL deals that they are going to try to use to their advantage as well. So I feel the Crimson Tide would be really good for them to get him on campus for that official visit. Like I said, he's one of the more talented running backs in the 2023 recruiting class. One of the more stable guys. He may be one of the guys who runs with the most balance. Just looking at his film, he's not going to be taken down by armed tackles. A patient runner gets into the open field, you're not going to catch him from behind. He does not get hauled down. Has great size, a great build, similar to Downs. I saw him in action at the Under Armour Next camp. Also similar to Downs, he only went through the drills. He did not go through the entire camp, just went through the drills process. He looked really good during that camp. So he has those 4 official visits locked in. We'll see what he decides to do. Like the guys I've seen in the state of Alabama over the last couple of weeks, I do plan to get out to Georgia this spring to check out some of the Crimson Tide's top targets in that state. Hopefully I'll get an opportunity to check in on Justice Haynes and Caleb Downs. And thank you guys so much for following along on our YouTube page, on my Twitter, on Touchdown Alabama's Twitter. We will continue to pump out content to you guys throughout this spring as I try to get out to see as many top recruits as possible. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of The Process. As always, before you leave, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Subscribers, hit the notification bell, be notified when we drop content on our YouTube page. Then head to our website at touchdownalabama.com. Pick up your subscription today. With that subscription, you'll be able to read all of our subscriber-only recruiting articles, all of our subscriber-only articles, our in-depth scouting reports for each Tide commit, each recruiting class as well. Then go to the Google Play Store if you have an Android device to download the Touchdown Alabama app, or to the Apple App Store if you have an Apple device to download the Touchdown Alabama app in the Apple App Store. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. As always, I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama.
Process.